Welcome to the USC channel at the Voice of College Football. I'm Matt Zemek along with Ethan Inman, Crashlet Collier. Sports are supposed to be fun, and sports are definitely an entertainment business. So, this is not life and death. There are very serious things happening in the world. We go to sports to escape from these things. But when our favorite team keeps screwing up, keeps punching us in the gut, sports don't feel like fun and they don't feel like entertainment. It feels like misery. So USC's trapped in Groundhog Day after an all too familiar loss to Illinois. So we're going to get into details. We're going to get into offense, defense, coaching, various players, injuries, the outlook going into the off week. And by the way, it's not a bye week. It's an off week or an idle week. So plenty to talk about. And of course, you're guaranteed an hour of myself, Ethan, and Crash. If you want 2 hours of rants and stem winders and sermons, $150 in super chats. If you want 2 hours, because we're all ready to vent here. But if you want a second hour, $150 in super chats. vocfb.com shop. Get that snappy USC cap that Ethan is dutifully wearing on every show. It supports the channel. It supports the Voice of College Football, and also the three of us. We're going to do some bonus cuts on USC football after this Illinois game. And we've already done a couple on USC athletics, including football. You can join at the middle Heisman tier or the top national champion tier. These memberships support our channel. All right, housekeeping's over. Crash first, then Ethan, then myself. It's soapbox time. It's time to vent. Crash, you have the floor.
All right. Thanks, Matt. So it's definitely a really just tough game, especially just watching it. I pretty much just woke up early and then just kind of turned on my TV, cut a little bit big noon, and then really just, was excited for the game, to be honest. And overall, I thought it was a great game. Definitely a lot to be great game overall. I think it was really back and forth, but it was still, as a USC fan and as someone who's, covering USC all the time, it was really frustrating to just see the defense get picked apart, especially late in the game, and then also just see a couple of injuries go down, especially seeing Killian O'Connor go down and just everything that just happened from there. It's just so many. There was a lot of things I could say I liked, like Mekhi Lemon. Like, dude just went off pretty much the entire game. And I mean, when is he not? But still, just with how much went wrong, just to see him just do so much stuff right. It was great to see. And it was like a really bright spot. It was definitely tough to see Jaden Mayava have his first interception, but I think he rebounded well from it. Definitely. And the thing I like about him is he just stays really even keeled. Like, you even saw that last year when he wasn't as clean and polished as he was last year when he was just more raw and he just was zooming over. But now that he's, been in the system, he's really assumed that leadership role. You've seen his confidence step up. So he kind of knew how to go from there, but just so much stuff, just the penalties and just the defense falling apart at the end. And especially granted, there were some injuries. Kamari Ramsey was out due to food poisoning and some other stuff. And then DeCarlos Nicholson was cramping up throughout the game. That was definitely tough to see, especially with how much. And I just remember Joel Klatt pointing this out at when Nicholson cramped up in the final 2 minutes or whatever it was when Illinois drove down the field to kick the game-winning field goal. I just remember Joel Klatt said if Luke Altmaier's smart, or he said if Luke Altmaier's smart, he's going to see who they replace Nicholson with. And then as soon as he saw his Harvey, he just completely made Harvey beat him, which I thought which credit to Illinois and Altmaier. That was a really smart bet they made there. And then obviously there is the argument of when SC should have scored. I guess there is an argument to be made that when you just have an opportunity, you got to take it. But could they have also, run, maybe at least tried a running play or two? Granted, the running game wasn't working, so I do kind of get why you'd be more confident in throwing, but why not try? I get that obviously you got to get the touchdown, so it's not as surefire as, you can just milk the clock and then kick the field goal. So I do get that, but it's still just like, dang, first play, you're already going for it. So like I said, it's still a lot for this team to play for. Season's not lost. They got an off week coming up. So I think that's a good time for people to get healthy everyone to really just kind of, refocus, get that things back, maybe like rest up, and then really come out firing in 2 weeks in front of a sold out Coliseum for Michigan.
All right. So my take on this whole debacle, it's a tough one. There's a lot of people you could point fingers at for sure. And I understand people who come at it from a different perspective than I do, but I have to call it the way that I see it. And the way that I see it is as a complete and total strategic failure by D'Anton Lynn. I don't know how you go an entire 60 minutes of this game without getting any pressure on Luke Altmaier. And it seems like this Illinois offensive line wasn't holding up against Indiana, but it also wasn't holding up against the 2 cupcakes they played before that. So there was obvious holes, obvious issues in this offensive line. And this defensive line had been dominant through the first 4 games, no matter who they'd kind of been tested against. So I don't understand, if the normal looks aren't working, like be more aggressive, especially when on the other side of the ball, you have Lincoln Riley and the offense playing balls to the wall football. Like the entire game, like there was the touchdown on the 4th and 7 that made it a 1-score game. Like they weren't afraid. I that's what I really felt like. And, there was a lot of great play calling by Lincoln Riley. I'm going to say this now because I know Matt's going to go there. I preemptively agree with you, Matt, that the going for the touchdown at the, and not running out more clock was a bad choice. It was a bad choice, but I just think you can't take that one bad choice that Lincoln Riley made in the end. And granted, it was a very consequential bad choice. You can't take that one bad choice and place all of the blame on him when there was just 60 minutes of D'Anton Lynn not putting any pressure on Luke Altmaier. And I just think that it's the analogy that I was thinking of earlier that best kind of explains my point of view on why I'm kind of in defense of Lincoln Riley and don't really feel like this is on him and feel like this is more on D'Anton Lynn. Is like, let's say you go to a local burger joint in your town, okay? And the burger joint gets new ownership, and not even new ownership. The burger joint hires like a new head chef, okay? The new head chef is Lincoln Riley in this example. And he's really known for making really great cheeseburgers. And he comes in, and what does he do right away? He makes great cheeseburgers. And like the milkshakes are kind of all right. Like they're good enough that it makes the meal somewhat well-rounded. But the cheeseburgers are really what people are going there for. And the cheeseburgers like make it one of the best burger joints in the country. And, that's in the first year of existence. That's all anyone can talk about. And then the next year, the cheeseburgers are great. And, again, the milkshakes are kind of just working well enough. And then like halfway through the year, all of a sudden the milkshakes, like some critics come to town to taste the food, and the milkshakes just fall off the face of the earth. And, it's very evident that the guy who you've hired to be in charge of all the milkshake makers is not doing his job. He's totally failing. So you fire him, you hire a new guy, and the new guy does great. And, the milkshakes are better than they've been since you opened the restaurant. And the burgers they suffer a little. In fact, to the point where people trust the milkshake guy over the burger guy the last year. And it's still kind of a middling year. And the burger guy makes some mistakes and whatever. And then this year, year 4. So the burger guy says, okay, I've got milkshake guy. He's got the milkshakes locked down. He's going to figure all that out. And in fact, milkshake guy goes out and hires 2 or 3 more just like absolute stars at making milkshakes to handle the milkshake making. And so you're just, you've got that all figured out in your eyes. And so you go and you focus on making burgers again, and you become an elite burger making joint again. And, in this example, obviously Maeva is incredible. The wide receivers are incredible. The running game, little bit of a shaky performance from Eli Sanders on Saturday, but other than that, thus far they've been incredible. Like you have multiple Heisman candidates on your offense, and suddenly the milkshake guy can't do his job. And honestly, what I saw that final play as Lincoln Riley's, kind of going for it again, just because the whole game balls to the wall football worked. So he just did it. He just went. He had the one-on-one. He just had Maeva throw it to Mekhi, and Mekhi go and get it because he'd done that all game long. That's what he was doing. and was like, all right, like I'm gonna trust D'Anton Lynn. This is what everybody has been telling me for years since I started at USC that I need to do. I need to stop being this, including people on this podcast, including myself. Stop, being in charge of everything. Let some smart people take charge of the other aspects that you're not good at, right? Lincoln Riley's obviously a very good offensive coach, so hire a defensive guy, hire Chad Bowden to handle recruiting, and just focus on offense. And that's what he's done. And there's this guy who has been a great defensive talent, and all of a sudden he can't coach defensive football. And yes, this is partially an injury issue. There's several injuries on the defense. There's and key defensive players as well, like Prophet Brown being out for most of the season, 3 weeks before the season starts is tough. Alex Graham not coming back, whatever. But it's penalties and it's strategy. Like one sack on Luke Altmaier when all we could talk about last week was put pressure on Luke Altmaier and he becomes a much worse quarterback, and the Illinois offensive line is not good. And the only sack the entire game was DeCarlos Nicholson coming off the edge, and Luke Altmaier was so shocked that he didn't even see it. Like, how can you see that play happen and then not get some more creative with your looks? Like, I just don't understand why at some point when the secondary can't stop a wet rag and your best player in the secondary who's healthy has food poisoning, which mysterious situation there. Don't know what happened there either. But, and like, the only stops you've gotten all game was like one fluky drive and then two like just gifts from Illinois, basically 3 yards away from the end zone. You have to start taking risks. Like, there's no point in not taking risks because the defense is not stopping anything anyway. So if they let the offense score quickly, like if they blitz 7 players and Illinois scores immediately, you have a minute left to kick a field goal or to go back down and score a touchdown. Like, there's just I just don't. It wouldn't have been kick a field goal; it would have been score a touchdown. I just don't understand how all game long, and you also you're sitting there as D'Anton Lynn. Lincoln Riley's just handed you the game. He said, "Look, despite all the things that have happened in this game, we've gotten you a lead, and like you just have to make one stop. Like, how do you not just, I don't know, blitz somebody, blitz a couple of guys and just get pressure on him, because that is so obviously the weak point of the Illinois offense." So that's my issue. I know Matt's going to have a different take on it because I follow very closely with Matt on Twitter. And so I'm excited to hear what he has to say because I'm sure we'll hash out a lot here. But that's how I see it. And I understand that Lincoln Riley is the head coach and that he is therefore the guy who all the blame falls on in the end. But there's just a point where like Lincoln Riley can't babysit D'Anton Lynn all the time. Like, D'Anton Lynn needs to man up and do his job. And so I just don't. That's why in this case I'm not placing the blame on Lincoln Riley. But I definitely do understand people who are, including Matt, who I'm sure is about to do so.
All right. So, by the way, Ethan, you kind of took the steam out of this show. Not in a bad way, but just like I was just all frothing at the mouth. I was angry, but then I just couldn't stop giggling, at milkshakes and burgers. I'm dating myself here. Bob Newhart show, well before each of your time, gentlemen, but there was an episode where there was this psychologist, not Bob Newhart's character, but like another psychologist would say, "Life is like a hamburger." Made me remember that. And I forget what the punchline was, but I do remember that from 1970 sitcom, The Bob Newhart Show. All right, now let me kind of get back that frothing in the mouth anger here, because I am really PO'd. All right, and so we'll get to the end game, but first, it's just Missouri State, man. It's just Georgia Southern, man. Doesn't matter. They're gonna make mistakes. They're just working themselves into this season. Doesn't count. They'll be there when it matters. Relax, man. Chill. Cool down. Do we see how moronic and idiotic that line of thought is? Again, I said this last week, and now we're very much in this world again. I saw this movie in 2023. Remember 2023? USC was 6-0, but no one was convinced USC was a really good team because it played sloppy ugly, uneven, not very clean football. And what happened in the goddamn middle of the season when the games got tougher, the opponents got better, the quality of play got more physical? What happened? What happened? A lot of short memories around here. It's just Georgia Southern, man. It's just Purdue, man. Relax, man. This is why I wasn't relaxed. And this is why when mistakes keep getting made one week after another and SHIT doesn't get fixed, this is what happens. This is what happens. And USC needed to earn the benefit of the doubt. USC still needs to earn the benefit of the doubt under Lincoln Riley. It's where we are. And, you know, if this is not just a football thing, it's not just a sports thing, this is a life thing. You don't get somewhere in life because it's given to you. You have to take it. You have to earn your place. No one just confers greatness upon you. No one just says you're great and, oh, you're great. That confirms it. Done deal. You're great. You're special. No one's special for going 6-0 or 4-0 against Cupcakes or Purdue or Michigan State. Whoop-de-doo. That's not the USC standard. We don't play to have a ticker tape parade after beating Michigan State. We're supposed to compete for championships. We're supposed to compete at the top level of college football. We're supposed to be elite. The standard is the standard is the standard. You're not competing against Purdue. You're competing against the standard. You're supposed to be great. You're supposed to be excellent. And so when mistakes keep coming and coming and coming and coming, week after week after week, what are we supposed to think? Stuff needs to get fixed. That's what a coach is paid for. You know, it's like Don Draper and Mad Men. That's what the money is for, he tells Peggy Olson. You know, it's a grimy business, but you get a paycheck. You get a good paycheck to do your work, to do advertising. Well, a coach is paid to have a good football team that doesn't make mistakes, doesn't step on a rake, doesn't slip on a banana. You play a clean game. How is it so flipping hard for this team to play a clean game of football? One clean game. 5 games in. Hasn't done it once. And Michigan is next. And then Notre Dame. And what about Oregon, which just beat Penn State on the road in Happy Valley in overtime? 8-4 season. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at right now, and that's a disaster. That's a failure. Unless stuff gets fixed and cleaned up and nipped in the bud. You know, there's this thing called accountability. Own your mistakes. Learn from your failures. Grow up, be a man. No one's going to give greatness to you. You have to earn it. And that's why I hate the sunshine pumping. It's just Georgia Southern, man. It's just Purdue, man. Don't get better, man. This is why I'm the bad cop around here. This is why I was the bad cop with Tim Pringley on our show in past seasons. Like, USC's not there. Until USC's there, meaning at the top, I'm going to be a skeptic. And I know it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way when I wanted Benny Wiley gone and when I wanted Josh Henson gone. Oh, you're being so negative. USC's not at the standard. The standard is the standard is the standard, and USC's not there. And one could say USC's not especially close. And now people could say, well, I mean, gee, just one play or two and USC would win. And gosh, all those close games last season, USC could have won all of them. USC led in the fourth quarter of 11 of 12 games last season. So close, so close. Folks, sports is competition. There's a good competitive team on the other side most Saturdays. Yeah, games are going to be close. Wow, what a deduction, Sherlock. Okay? Sports are close generally. Like, the blowout is the surprise. The blowout is the exception against good teams. All right? Illinois, Michigan, Notre Dame, Oregon, you don't expect to blow them out. But you do expect to win. And USC does not win these games. You know, So, okay, USC finally won a Big Ten game in the Midwest when it beat Purdue. Again, Purdue's not the standard. We're not measuring ourselves against Purdue. We're supposed to win these games against Illinois. We're supposed to win these games against the upper tier of the Big Ten. That's why we left the Pac-12. And may I just add briefly, Lincoln Riley complaining about the early kick time. Such weak sauce. Such weak sauce. Get that out of here, Lincoln. Do your job and win games. And all of that other stuff doesn't matter. You just come off looking small, and that's why so many people, and I see some Oklahoma fans in the chat, of course they're here like vultures circling. People love to see Lincoln Riley lose, but he makes it easy, right? He makes it easy to hate him and to look down on USC, and then he doesn't do his job, and it just all looks very pathetic. And that's where we are. So, no accountability, no willingness to fix past mistakes, address past flaws, and now we get to the end game. And we know that Lincoln Riley's been a terrible game management coach at USC. It's been a constant, but boy, this one really took the cake. Now here's the deal, folks. No Kamari Ramsey, all right? Huge injury to your defense. I'm not blaming the secondary for this game. No Kamari Ramsey. On top of no Prophet Brown, all the other injuries, that's a mash unit. And so what I really like about Ethan's analysis, the pass rush needed to step up and pick up those teammates in the secondary. Secondary was banged up. Pass rush needed to get home. Pass rush needed to step up. Pass rush failed. And of course, D'Anton Lynn also failed. You need to get after that damn quarterback so that you protect your teammates in a depleted secondary. So I share Ethan's anger there. But let's also now just zoom out and just be honest about USC's defense was depleted. And with the pass rush obviously not getting home, obviously not playing well against an Illinois offensive line, which, hey, full credit. They got embarrassed. They played with a chip on their shoulder, as we thought they might. Credit to Illinois here. They fought hard. They showed a lot of pride. But anyway, USC's young defensive front just wasn't up to it. And you have the banged up secondary. If you give Illinois, forget about 155, just a minute, even 45 seconds, you give Illinois any appreciable amount of time, you're probably giving up a field goal. And I do agree that Ethan, you might as well just blitz the heck out of him, because if you give up a touchdown, you get the ball back. Jaden Mayava, Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane with 50 seconds left, that is better than letting Illinois Chinese water torture, drip, 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 kick a walk-off field goal. You don't get the ball back. So Ethan's game theory, right on point. And that is what Lincoln Riley, he does not care about this. It's more than getting it wrong, which he did. Does he care? Does he give one flippin' iota about any of this? I can't tell. I can't tell that game management is really something he spends 1 second thinking about. Because if you do spend at least 1 second thinking about game management, and I have this completely banged up secondary, and I have a completely ineffective defensive line and pass rush, 1 + 1 = 2. I need to win this game with my offense. I need to not only score, but drain those 3 Illinois timeouts and drain what's left of the clock. I need to score with 15 seconds left, if not 12, if not 8. And this doesn't make Lincoln Riley that unique among coaches. This is pervasive in the industry. But when you're paid all the millions of dollars Lincoln Riley is paid, you should be making elite level decisions at the top 1% of your profession. And so to not grasp that, no, I can't leave this game to my banged up and ineffective defense. I need to do it with the strong side of the ball and the side of the ball I coach, and the side of the ball where I'm calling the plays, I'm calling the shots. That's your best chance of winning. So let's unpack this Endgame in just a little bit more specificity. I wrote about this at Trojans Wire. Go over to Trojans Wire. Myself and my colleague Adam Bradford are going all in on Lincoln Riley. But anyway, in the Endgame, I'll give you the reveal on this. There's a specific detail about the Endgame that merits attention here, and that is that USC had the 1st and 10 at the 17-yard line at the 2-minute warning, okay? So, hypothetically, if you have the ball on the 10 or the 9 or even like the 11, it's really hard to say, well, we'll get a first down inside the 1 and then we'll score the touchdown. That's a narrow box. And of course, if it's at the 10 or the 9, you can't even do that. So if it was at the 10, 1st and goal at the 10, you have only 3 plays, maybe 4. And with Illinois having all 3 timeouts, you know what? Scoring on as soon as possible makes sense because Illinois would just be calling its 3 timeouts. It's not as though you could then run a 5th or a 6th play after Illinois uses those timeouts. So like Illinois would use the 3 timeouts, you score with like 1:35 left. It's only like a 20-second difference. So you might as well score on 1st down if you have the ball on the 9 or the 10, 1st and goal in that time situation. But this was the 17, all right? So the 17, it's not that hard to get a 1st down inside the 7. You know, you can go down at the 5, you can go down at the 3, you can go down at the 2, the 1. Like you have some space on that field to manipulate down in distance, yardage, timeouts, the whole deal at the 17 that you wouldn't have at the 10. So like USC 1st and 10 at the 17, 3-yard run, 1st down, timeout Illinois. 3-yard run, 2nd down, timeout Illinois. 3rd and 4, okay? Then you have 2 plays to get 4 yards. And let's say you get it on 3rd down, okay? So 1st down at the 6, timeout Illinois, last timeout, okay? So about 1:40 left, Illinois is out of timeouts. You have 1st and goal on the 6. Aren't you instantly in a much better position to win right there if you can do that? If you can get the 1st down on multiple plays inside the 7, and then Illinois doesn't have timeouts to fall back on. And then you can run the ball on 1st down from the 6, maybe get down to the 3, clock, tick, 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 tick. It probably gets down to 50 seconds. 2nd and goal from the 3. You run the ball to the 1. Tick, 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 tick. So you can have 3rd and goal from the 1 with about 10 seconds left. So you have 2 plays to make 1 yard. And if you get that 1 yard, you win. And Illinois doesn't have time left. Like, you know, just Lincoln, honey, can you just think about game management for like 2 seconds? Because if you did, you'd know that that is obviously the far preferable path and strategy compared to, well, let's test out my banged up secondary and my completely ineffective pass rush with 1:55 on the clock. Like, it's not even a close call. It's not a remotely close call. And yet coaches are paid millions and millions of dollars to make those decisions. And Lincoln Riley, it just seems like you do not give a flying fire truck. And that's why I'm pissed. In addition to the lack of accountability, in addition to everything else.